One of the questions I get asked all the time is, how in the world did you get into the lawn care business? And what does your daily or weekly involvement look like in the business that you own today? So I'm going to tell you about that. I'm going to tell you the backstory, and I hope this is interesting. So if you rewind way back, I basically wanted to make money. So we're talking like eighth grade. I just wanted to make money because I loved cars and I knew I wanted a sports car. Where I lived, which was in the country, there wasn't really an opportunity to get a job. We had to drive into town, which was about 10 miles away, and the job prospects were a grocery store, McDonald's, or Sonic, or something of that sort. But there weren't really a ton of different job opportunities. Also, I didn't think those jobs paid very much money, and I wanted to do better. So I talked my parents into letting me start a lawn care business. And my mom drove me around, and she drove me into town where there were plenty of properties to mow. And that's how I got started. So initially, my dad helped me design some door hangers, and I would put those door hangers out. And then I would get calls, and I handled everything. And they would call my parents' home phone, and I got a bunch of residential properties in town. And then my mom, after school and on Saturdays, would drive me in to town and in the minivan, and she would drop me off. And I would just mow until I was out of jobs. And there were no cell phones, so I have no idea how we coordinated everything. And later in the day, she'd come pick me back up. And then when I turned 16, I, of course, immediately got a truck. And that was when my business was really able to start taking off more and more. Then I started getting some commercial properties in town. And we're not talking about anything huge. I don't remember exactly how much I was making, but it was really good for a high school kid, more than my teachers were making, at least by my junior year of high school. And so that was my entry into the lawn care world. And it was the thing that, and because of that, I started subscribing to Entrepreneur Magazine. And back then there was a magazine called Success and Inc. magazine. And I ended up getting a computer to do Quicken on my computer to keep up with my finances. And I had to invoice my clients. And so it really made me start learning some stuff about business. And I really liked making money, and I wanted to make more of it. So then I became interested in the topic of business. And that's really how it all started. But right after my senior year, early freshman year, I got out of the mowing business, except for some properties that I kept on Saturday, which I would mow every Saturday. And I started working in technology around 2021 at the only job I've ever had, where I worked at a software company for 4 years. And that got me out of the lawn care business entirely. Fast forward, after I left that software job, I got into computer consulting, so contract programming. And along the way, I ended up as a partner in a cleaning company. And through that cleaning company, one of my partners basically, without going into all the details, helped me end up in the lawn care business again, which I never thought I was going to be in the lawn care business. And if you watched many of the videos, you might know that we ended up buying this lawn care business for about $7,000. And it came with a truck, this old mower called a Cushman. It was a riding mower, and about $50,000 worth of commercial accounts. They were just old warehouse properties that you'd literally just knock them down, weed eat, blow off the debris, and you'd move on to the next one, and you mowed them about every other week. And that got me into the business. Had no desire to be back in the lawn care business. I wanted to be in technology, but that got me back into it. And what ended up happening is I built the business somewhat quickly, ended up very much disliking what had been built, and ended up, again, I've talked about this in other videos, ended up dialing that business way back and sort of rebuilt a brand new company, which is what I would say what I own today. So some lessons I learned along the way, because that's how I got into it. So there was this big gap where I was out of the business and then I was back into the business. As I said, I never thought I'd be back in the business. But what I learned in programming consulting and what I learned in working as part of that cleaning company was that it sort of sucked to have everything depend on you, to not have a big team under you. The cleaning company had a huge team, but frankly, the owners ran the business. There were managers, but the owners were the decision makers, and everything sort of stopped at the owner level. Like that, the owners did not delegate off most of the responsibility to a leadership team. The owners were the leadership team. There were just a whole lot of really great lessons I learned as being part of that business and doing the tech consulting and seeing a variety of different industries. as well as starting the lawn care business made me realize that, man, I don't really understand marketing. I think I kind of am okay at selling and I can build a business around selling, but I'm not really a marketer. And so that set me on a path to really learn marketing. And going down that road then taught me so many other lessons. I was already good at customer service. I was definitely good at following up and taking care of clients, but it helped me think about customer service, about building a team, about taking care of the team in a in a whole new way. So marketing opened this door to where I met all these other people that just had so much impact on my thinking and my knowledge level that then I tested and tried the things I was learning in my business. So two things happened. I was learning about marketing and everything that came with marketing, as well as I was wanting to build a business, and we're talking about my lawn care business now, that wasn't like everything I had done previously. I wanted to build a business that could run without my constant involvement. And that was the beginning of the company that I still own today. And one of the greatest things that ever happened, I told you what my goal was. I wanted to build a business that didn't require my constant daily involvement. But the reality of it is most likely what would have transpired is I would have remained involved on a daily basis. Now, keep in mind, this was also a part-time business. From day one, the lawn care business I was involved in was always part-time. I've always had several other businesses at the same time. Remember, I was doing the contract programming. And I was also still a partner in a cleaning company. And then eventually started Service Autopilot. And the starting of Service Autopilot was the thing that literally forced me to have near zero involvement in the lawn care business, like really dial it back. And I had to because my schedule was so ridiculous in the early days of Service Autopilot, just so many unbelievable hours. And it was literally impossible to be involved in the lawn care business as well. And so the reason I tell you that story is two great blessings that happened to me that I believed helped get the lawn care business to where it is today, where I'm not overly involved in the business. Was one, it was always part-time. And because it was always part-time, I had to depend on other people to do a lot of the work of the business. So I couldn't be there constantly dabbling all the time. Now, I did a lot of work in that business. I just worked crazy hours, but it was part-time. And so I had to let other people do all the work in the field. I had to get help on the phones. I had to get help with scheduling. I had to get all these other things. And then when Service Autopilot got going, that was almost the end of my ability to participate in the business in any meaningful way, which really forced me to hire other people and trust the people I already had on my team. And it worked out wonderfully that I already had some really great people on the team who could make that transition and were already making the transition into a leadership position. But what I didn't do, because I was forced to hand things over, was I didn't micromanage them. I didn't stay involved in every decision. I had to let them figure it out. I had to let them make the decisions, and they rose to the challenge and have done an incredibly awesome job. And so that's how the business got started. And that I would describe as I've described it, that's how the business ended up initially transitioning into a business where I'm not active in the business. And I haven't been really at all since about 2012. And I wanted to tell that part of the story because it's incredibly important. And that's this, and what I'm referring to is that transition away from me being the individual running it. And I've met a number of really interesting people over the years that have ended up building things like I have that are more actively ran by leadership teams than by the owner or owners. And some do a great job on their own of doing it. And for many, though, it was a series of events that forced them to get to that place. So I've met individuals that have had a family member become ill, or maybe some event happened to them, or like me, they had too many things going and they had to delegate to other people. And those items were the catalyst that allowed them and forced them to let go of the reins of the business, forced them to find really good people and trust those people to grow the organization. Now, it all sounds easier than it is because, as you know, it's really hard to find really great people. Sometimes you find great people and you invest in them and you're very optimistic that they could sort of take this thing in a new direction without you, but they don't work out. And it feels like a massive setback because then you've got to go find somebody new to put into that role. And, I've been through all those things, but that's the backstory. So to this day, we own the company. My intent is to not get rid of the business. I like the business. I like the industry. I think the business has tremendous potential in spite of all the challenges, and there are a lot of challenges in the green industry, in the pest industry, in the different industries that we serve. But I'll tell you, at the end of the day, they make for great businesses that I do not believe are going away anytime soon. They will be disrupted by technology, and I'm excited about that, and I plan to play a role in that, but they're great businesses. And I intend to remain part of them for the long term. The other thing I'll say about it is the reason I'm so optimistic is because most companies and across whatever industry, most owners aren't willing to learn what you've got to learn and aren't willing to do what you've got to do and aren't willing to put in the time you've got to put in, just aren't willing to do. And most of it has to do with what they're willing to learn. They're not willing to do the work. And they say they are, but they don't do it in their actions. And as a result, there's just so much opportunity because most of the competition isn't that great. So for you and for if you're willing to put your head down and learn a lot of lessons and make a lot of hard decisions and work really hard and really put a lot of effort into hiring the right team members, there's just a lot of opportunity to be ridiculously competitive. The other great news is, I live in the software and technology world. In the software and technology world, everybody raises millions and millions and millions of dollars. Everybody, it's a very different, very competitive world. You don't see that in the lawn care business and the pest control industry. You're not competing against someone else that has $10 million in cash or 20 million in cash or raised $300 million or whatever the number is. You hear about those stories in the news and technology, but that's not what's going on in the services, in the trades. And so it really levels that playing field. And if you're willing to do the work, gain the knowledge, hire the right people, make the investments back in the business, and keep your personal lifestyle to a minimum while you invest in growth, you have a really, really good chance of being a standout in your market and being in a dominant position in the market. So I'm just super excited about these businesses. In spite of all the challenges, the labor problems, regulations, everything else that could be coming at us, thing is, that's happening in every single trade, in every single industry right now. And no one is immune from it. And so for that reason, I figure and I believe that the best path is just figure out how to navigate all those challenges, and on the other side, you win. So that's my backstory. That's where I'm at today, and that's why I'm super optimistic about the business you and I are in for the long term. Hope that was interesting. You're more than welcome to ask me questions below, and I'll respond to some of the questions. See you later.